This is The Whole Truth, brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. From local city councils and school boards to the South Carolina legislature and the nation, we provide a clear-eyed view of the whole truth surrounding the decisions, the policies, and the politics that have a direct impact on your family, your neighbors, and you. In today's episode, we have two great segments for you. The first is another segment of That's Not the Whole Truth, where we assess the propaganda and voluminous logical fallacies coming from our local right-wing radio. In the second segment, Charles interviews the U.S. Senate Democratic candidate, Mr. Kyle Freeman, and they explore some details about the campaign. So let's get to it. Hello.
Hello.
Once again. I'm Steve Ramirez. I'm first vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party.
And I'm Charles Morris, third vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party. So Steve way outranks me.
Way. Usually behind the mic or behind the camera, but today I'm going to continue on with the new segment. That's not the whole truth.
The popular segment.
Hey,
I'm excited to do this again.
It should be enjoyable. I took a clip just from a different jock this time.
Okay.
A different commentator, political commentator.
Well, we never heard from the last one when I called him out. I haven't got my info yet, but maybe this guy will do it.
So this is Charlie James, who's on in the afternoons.
Okay.
And took just a single segment of his broadcast. And, oh my goodness, I just had my red pen and bled all over it. All the different logical fallacies, all of the bits of propaganda that exist.
So the coffee I just drank probably wasn't a great idea because now my blood pressure is going to skyrocket. Thanks. Okay.
No worries.
All right.
So I thought I would actually start with propaganda, what it is, and some logical fallacies, some of what those are. I've got a long laundry list of them, and so I just want to walk through a couple of them. What makes something propaganda?
Right.
The different characteristics, the common characteristics. One is emotional appeal. It's known as pathos, but basically going after something that really triggers people's heartstrings. That's kind of the short version of it. The other one is, of course, selective facts. You choose these. Cherry picking is the other name for that.
Something that comes natural to all human beings when trying to make an argument.
True. Yeah, you only want to present your best side, which, that is human nature. But certainly within propaganda, it's very regimented to do that. Oversimplification is the other one. The other one that is kind of a little harder to discern is hidden agenda. The source often conceals its true motives or sponsorship, posing as neutral while advancing the ideological, political, or commercial goals. They just
that never happens.
I'm just asking questions. I'm not really pushing this one particular point of view.
Right. And
of course, the other one, which is all over this type of radio gig, is repetition. Keep it up like a mantra so that people,
even if it's wrong, you just keep repeating it.
Absolutely.
Because just flood people with
familiarity makes people think must be the truth then, because I remember it in my head.
So are you reading fallacies or the GOP communications playbook? Can't tell the difference.
And we have to admit, some of that happens on the left as well. But yeah, what we're looking at here today on conservative radio, oh my goodness, it is right up their alley. The other are logical fallacies, which often go hand in hand with the propaganda and are used within propaganda. And I'm only going to highlight some of my laundry list here.
Yeah, I'm looking. That's a glossary of terms there, Steve.
Yes, it is. These are the ones that are appropriate for this segment today. So ad nauseum, which is basically repetition. Yep. And that's pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Emotion, appeal to emotion, which we already kind of talked about a little bit. Bare assertion. So the sky is green. I can just say it. I don't have to say anything else. I have no substantiation for that. I have nothing behind it. No argument that goes behind it. Cherry picking, we already kind of mentioned that one. Cherry picking or confirmation bias. And the other is framing or omission. A little more subtle, but selectively presenting facts that support a specific interpretation while ignoring or omitting contradictory evidence. Similar to what...
so the elimination of nuance.
Yeah, very much. and
That's popular
allowing
nowadays.
a claim to appear supported when it's really not. And these last two are really common as well. Hasty generalizations, pretty intuitive, and straw man arguments, which...
I love the straw man. That's my favorite guy.
Yeah, you basically misrepresent your opponent's position. You simplify it down to something that is incredibly easy to attack, to the point where it's basically makes their position seem absurd.
Correct. Okay.
And then you refute the weaker argument, which is their little straw man. So, Charlie James.
I'm ready.
January 30.
I'm pumped up. I've had the glass of coffee. Let's go. Take some deep breaths over here.
Here is the first clip.
So the Democrats want illegal aliens in this country in order to make sure that their apportionment, that they can keep their House and Senate, their House seats. That's very important to them. That's why they want to use them. They want them there to vote illegally. In fact, there was a hearing today, and they asked like 5 Democrats if illegal aliens should get to vote, and none of them could give an answer, when the answer should have just been no. But they want them for the votes. They want them for the warm bodies. They want them for the census. So...
Okay. So this is the kind of stuff.
Okay.
Opening his segment.
I don't even know where to start with that, but okay.
So in terms of the logical fallacies and the propaganda techniques he's used, you've basically got, straw man to begin with. So he's boiling down all the Democrats and what they want and how they feel, what they support, etc., and boiled it down to, this is what they want, that they want illegal immigrants. Do they? Is this really what was on anybody's platform as they were running for office? Do they stand out there and say,
exactly?
Yes.
But then he ties it to apportionment, which I don't even know. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. It's like I don't even know where to start with this. How many fallacies did you identify 1, 2, immediately,
3,
Steve? Good Lord.
4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them on this one segment. Actually, there's a couple of, So just in that opening line, Democrats want illegal aliens in this country in order to make sure that their apportionment, they can keep their House and Senate seats. So you got straw man. You've also got bare assertion in there. You've got framing, omission, problems in that. And of course, hasty generalizations. They all want. That's very important to them. That's why they want to use them. Circular reasoning. So I've made this statement, and you see, this is why they want that. And it just goes round and round in circles with no justification other than what I've already stated as this bare, unsupported assertion.
So I appreciate you breaking that down, because it is important for people to understand. Can I also just call it what it is? Incredibly stupid. First off, I love this segment because I'm hearing this stuff for the first time, and Steve and I agree this is a great way to do this. But it also means that I can't quickly pull up some stats, but I'd love to know the number of undocumented immigrants that are in Republican states, like say Texas. If we're talking about apportionment, because the census does count people. It does not ask for citizenship status. A lot of people don't understand that about the census. When they come to your door, or when you fill it out online, they do not ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. They simply ask if you live at that particular address. So that's what he's getting at. But how many of those people say live at an address in Texas, or live at an address in Florida, or any number of border states that are overwhelmingly Republican, or anywhere else in the country? So that automatically doesn't make any sense as to why Democrats want to have tons of illegal immigrants in the state of Texas to accomplish what?
Yeah, I'm sure their argument would be they want to make Texas blue by giving all of them illegals the vote.
Okay.
But we all,
the Hispanic vote in Texas was overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in this last election. It just, the argument is just so insane, just right up front. And then you break down the logical fallacy. It's crazy. But okay.
Yeah, it is.
That's a strong one out the gate, Steve. I'm sorry. Was there more that you wanted
there's 5 segments.
Well, on that particular one, was there more to break down there?
Yeah, on this one, let's see. They could not give an answer. They should have just been no. And, in fact, the hearing.
What is he talking about?
The hearing today.
What hearing?
There was a hearing today. So he was recording this on the 30th. I looked on the 29th and the 30th, and then further around. I searched. I could not find any evidence of it.
Okay. So what's the one where you can just say something and then you just
bare assertion?
Okay, There we go. That's a classic example.
Yep. That's bullshit. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I searched for that, and Congress was basically focused on the shutdown during that 2 days.
Right.
There was a 2024 discussion where, something similar to that happened, but I can understand, or I clearly understand why the people didn't answer the question the way that it was phrased.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, okay, first off, Charlie, what hearing are you talking about? Second off, what's the question that was asked?
That's, the nuance matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want illegal aliens to vote?
Is
Is
that what they said? Because I highly doubt that that's what they said. They probably said something along the lines of, do you think illegal or undocumented immigrants voting is a problem in this country, or something leading like that?
Yeah.
Which, for the record, it's not. Illegal voting is so incredibly rare that it's statistically irrelevant. And what's funny is you can just Google illegal voting. A lot of times they're Republicans trying to vote for Republican candidates more than once. Projection.
We have noticed that.
Is that on there?
Trend.
Is projection on there?
No.
That's a common one.
Yeah, I actually looked up the non-citizen voting. It was actually permitted in varied U.S. states and territories since the nation's founding, until the 20th century, roughly. Primarily as an incentive to bring in immigrants,
right,
to the different locations.
Just to clarify for people, the 20th century started with the year 1900. It is now 2026. This is not a modern problem. It does not exist.
By 1924, all states prohibited non-citizens from federal elections. What was that? By 1924, all states prohibited it. It was reinforced in 1996 by Clinton, no less, the Democrat Clinton, by the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, which criminalized it federally up to 5 years in prison. So even made harsher to try to make sure that we don't have illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants, whatever, voting in federal elections. Some localities experimented with ordinances otherwise, but those have been struck down in the courts.
And anybody listening to this, it's highly likely you voted in your life. Just think about the logistics of how you would even illegally vote. I mean, when you go to the polling place, your name is on a register, and you check in, they say you voted, and that's it. You can't go to another precinct. They're going to say, we don't have your name.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, it's just so ridiculous. There's so many safeguards in place. They know that this is ridiculous, but people fall for this time and time again because they don't want to say what their actual problem is, which is they simply just don't like brown people. Let's just call this what it is. They don't like brown people.
And they keep hearing this mantra over and over. Where do they hear it? People like this, Fox News, right. OAN, etc. It's over and over. They're continuously repeating this, saying illegals are voting, Democrats want them, blah, 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 blah. And this last bit, but they want them for their votes. They want them for their warm bodies. They want them for the census. You've got your bare assertion. You've got the straw man argument problem there. You've got ad nauseum repetition, of course, and the appeal to emotion. They want them for the warm bodies. They want, try and make people's toes curl.
Is the emotion hatred of non-white people? Okay.
Some of that, yeah.
Be on the same page there.
So, second segment here. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Take a drink.
Let's go.
And then on the other side, you've got these Republicans, so-called Republicans, that want illegal immigrants here because they're good, cheap labor. But what do the American people want? Well, according to CNN, the American people want all illegal aliens deported to the tune of about 60% of Americans want that. All of them, every single one, get them gone. But now, American activists and groups are slamming the establishment's bipartisan push, this is from Breitbart, bipartisan push for stealth nationwide amnesty that would help progressives and CEOs freely use the huge population of millions of illegal migrants to sideline American citizens. The stealth amnesty got a big push forward on Tuesday night, with Senate Democrats and Republicans agreeing to delay passage of the 2026 funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. The DHS bill is now being held back until Senate Democrats and Republicans can include a series of apparently minor changes that would create a huge bureaucratic barrier to the deportation of nonviolent illegal immigrants. But pro-American legislators and activists are fighting back. We should not give Democrats a single inch when it comes to backing law enforcement, said Tommy Tuberville. He said, I'm a conservative first, Republican second for a reason. And then on the other...
So a bit of a long segment, but all over the map once again.
Yeah, I didn't think he could be any more full of bleep, and he managed to just shovel some more in there, but okay.
And if you listen to it without any critical thought, his words work together in sentences, and the sentences all are structured properly, grammatically correctly.
That was hilarious. It's the only way to listen to that trash.
If you don't listen with critical thinking, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, and you can just, a little lapdog, yeah, oh, yeah, that makes me angry. But
first off, okay. 60%. I'd love to see where that number came from. I was going to joke, okay, well, was it a Fox News poll? This man said Breitbart.
That was actually part of the fact.
Was his source.
Well, yeah, that's...
Breitbart.
The framing was in that 60% comment. The American people want all illegal aliens deported to the tune of. So that first part, American people. Do all American people want that? No. Some of the American people want, and he clarifies it with the middle, which is actually closer to facts. 60% of Americans want illegal aliens deported. So you package, now this is the framing part, you put BS, a fact, and BS. And that really relies on, it leverages primacy and recency effects, because people remember the first thing they heard. They remember the last thing they heard. That middle part, the 60%, whatever. Yeah, we want them all gone. America wants all of them gone. BS. It's,
But even then, I'd love, where did the 60% number come from? And what was the question on that survey?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't even take the time to look into that. Although he said, according to CNN. So that's part of the reason I didn't look into it. It's like, well, okay, let's take that, stipulate that that's true. Fine. But again, you've got that whole positioning problem. The readers weigh the surrounding context more heavily, associating the fact with generalizations or emotional or illogical slant. So, of course.
Yeah, that was a lot packed. I mean, this is actually, when you look at it from this point of view, because, I mean, you're so right. You say when you listen to this without any critical thought, because it's like, I mean, how else could you listen to this? Mm-hmm. This is almost like sports talk radio. Like, you don't take it that serious,
Yeah.
The topics that he's talking about
are life critical,
incredibly serious.
Yeah.
And just the callousness with which this man lies about these things is disturbing, because this is one talk show host at one radio station in the upstate of South Carolina. Think about how many people hear this on a daily basis all across the country and do not put any amount of critical thought into it. So, I don't know. This is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, when you consider that Rush Limbaugh was across the United States in his heyday.
He was nationally syndicated for years. Bill O'Reilly, the same thing. The no spins anyway. Whatever. Golly. Okay.
So, yeah, the Breitbart, you caught that. I did find the article.
Breitbart.
I did finally find the article that he was talking about. And Charlie James, has some misattributions of what's actually said in there. Not a big problem. Hey, to help the progressives and the CEOs freely use. I tried to look that up and see if I could validate that. Couldn't. That was a statement within that Breitbart commentary. But I found no evidence of that. It might exist out there. I just didn't have time to go hunting forever to try to see if he's actually telling the truth there.
Right. But the funny thing is, when he talks about the cheap labor, he he's couching that in so many things that are just complete BS, but he's not totally wrong about that part of it. There are many people who have a substantial interest in cheap, undocumented labor. In fact, you've had many major farmers who have expressed concern about ICE raids because of what it could, people are not coming to work. They're scared. They don't want to, leave the house, things like that. So he's not totally off base there, but then it's like, okay, so are you intentionally giving a talking point that is actually kind of true, that you're using to try to say, well, I'm criticizing Republicans too, so that you can then just freely tell as many lies about the Democrats as you want to? Is he trying to give himself some credibility, or is it just the clock's right twice a day there? No,
I think it's an area where it hits conservatives' heartstrings. So that's something that resonates, the emotional appeal.
There's just a lot. There's a lot happening there. And anyway, sorry, I don't mean to.
Oh, and please do. That's why we're here.
Pontificate on Charlie James.
So, part where he says the huge population of millions of immigrants to sideline American citizens. Again, appeal to emotion. It's like you're sidelining American citizens. The stealth amnesty got a big push forward.
What does that mean?
Exactly. It's a nice nebulous phrase, and that's actually one of the...
What is stealth amnesty?
Yep. I looked into where this may have come from, and on the Breitbart site, Lindsey Graham's Sanctuary City Punishment Bill is seen as possibly enabling amnesty. Because if they fix the problem of having ICE not go after sanctuary cities by cities agreeing, okay, yes, we will actually report people if they are illegal aliens and they're in our jails.
Yes, they will sign the agreements with ICE.
Right. 287Gs.
287Gs, which have become, a hot button issue in the last couple of months.
Exactly. So in that case, then, is there amnesty for all of the rest of those non-criminals? Oh my gosh, we can't have amnesty for all of those non-criminals. Why? Because they broke the law when they crossed the border. So what's the issue there? And anyway, that's...
The problem is that falls apart when you realize most of these people they're rounding up are not illegal. And also, you cannot make that argument when ICE officers are standing outside of immigration hearings.
Trying to do it legal.
Grab people who are literally doing it the right way.
No doubt.
This is all just comes back to what I said earlier. It's because they're brown or they're black.
So, let's see. Democrats and Republicans can include a series of apparently minor changes. Again, we've got the bare assertion. Oh, and slippery slope was tossed in that one. Yeah, you've got Democrats and Republicans can include a series of apparently minor changes that would create huge bureaucratic barrier to deportation of nonviolent illegal immigrants. And that's really the key that I was kind of inferring before. It's like, well, if they get rid of the criminals, that means I can't deport the non-criminals. But I want to do that. And that's the slippery slope that he's talking about that really bugs the hard right conservatives. Let's see.
Oh, is there more?
Oh, yeah, a couple more. That's only 2 clips.
Oh, lovely.
Are you hearing more and more Republicans and officials talk about deporting only the violent, criminal, illegal aliens? Yeah, absolutely we are. Newt Gingrich, just the other night, was talking about it. We've tried that. It doesn't work. It does not work. It has never worked. Look, well, want to take a good look? All of those immigrants, refugees in Minneapolis from Somalia?
All right, so I'm cut that one off right there. So the part about deporting only the violent criminals, illegal aliens, yeah, absolutely, we are. Newt Gingrich, blah, blah, blah. So,
why is he relevant, first of all?
He's actually, this guy, Charlie James, very far right, and that's how he gets his money, is by being extremely agitating on the far, far right. Okay. So even Newt Gingrich isn't conservative enough, and I think that's just enjoyable to watch.
That's insane. But yeah, then I mean, he just goes on and on. Here, the only question I'll ask about this segment is, what do people from Somalia look like, Steve?
No.
No, I mean, let's just all be honest with each other. What do people from Somalia look like? Why do you think they're attacking? Why do you think their straw man is Somalian immigrants? Mm-hmm. Let's just be real about it. It's easy. It's because they're black. It makes it easy to appeal to racist, who's their base. So anyway,
the vast majority of Somalis in Minnesota are naturalized citizens.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of Haitians in Ohio are naturalized citizens, and they said they were eating dogs and cats. Yep. These people don't care. It's because they're black.
Or they are legal permanent residents. More than half of the Somali population in Minnesota was born in the United States. So a lot of the kids, the next generation.
How dare they be born here with their black skin? How dare they? That's what they're saying. Let's just, I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound crude here, but let's just call this what it is. So. Yep. That's the fallacy. It's racism.
So how does that work out for us? Let's see where we're.
How's that working out for us?
Yeah. That one is actually a new one. It's called aporia, and it's a logical fallacy. It's basically.
Can you explain what that is?
Contextual, and it's feigned ignorance or uncertainty, pretending to be uncertain about a subject or feigning doubt to raise a point or explore an argument while seeming humble or unassuming.
Okay. It's just little old me asking. I don't know anything.
Just asking questions. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking questions. But how's that working out for you?
On an unrelated note, Dabo Sweeney loves the aporia. It's just little old Clemson. I'm on the rest of y'all bus. Anyway, sorry, I'm a Clemson fan. That Dabo immediately jumped to mind. Anyway, back to more serious topic.
Next one gets even better.
Oh,
multiculturalism never works. It does not work. No matter where it's tried. Just open your eyes and look at what's going on in London. Open your eyes and look at what's going on in Sweden. Look at your eyes and what's going on in France.
Yeah. I'm going to sound like a broken record. We are descending into this is shocking. Okay? This is actually shocking. I know I shouldn't be shocked, but this is broadcast free for people to hear. This is straight up white nationalism.
It's right there.
That is shocking. That is so freely said. On a broadcast.
Yeah.
Multiculturalism does. What does he think this nation was built on? Mm-hmm. Immigrants. But spoiler alert, white people, you're all immigrants or descendants of them. My God. Half my ancestors came here willingly. The other half came here unwillingly. Figure that one out. All of us, if you're not indigenous and you're not part of a registered tribe, you are an immigrant. This is insanity.
That's right.
I can't. I'm getting fired up here. This is straight up white nationalist radio. Yep. That's unbelievable.
And they use the same techniques, same propaganda techniques. You've got
crazy
in that one, bare assertion. There's no substance behind it. You've got the straw man arguments. You boil it down. You've got false dilemma, false choice. Does not work no matter where it's tried, and speciousness, which is another. But basically, the argument is specious in itself. When he talks about look in your eyes and what's going on in France, in Paris, you've got hasty generalization and cherry picking. Did something wrong happen in Paris? Maybe so. Are there immigrants? Did they run into some problem there? Yep, got it. So you just pick that one out and say, ergo, Paris, France, all bad because of an immigrant problem. So,
what's the immigrant problem? What's the problem?
Something happened. Somebody got hurt.
Some things happen, and we just blame it all on the non-white people.
The group.
Even though immigrants as a whole are statistically far less likely to commit any sort of crime than natural-born citizens.
We don't bring that up if we're on the right, because that's an actual fact.
This is crazy. Oh, excuse my language. This is crazy. I've never heard this guy before. He is far worse than whoever else we were listening to that one time. This guy is an actual white nationalist. But again, hey, Charlie James, I'll come on your show too. Whatever. You freely say this.
Let's talk.
I'll come to you. I'll come by myself, and I'll sit in your studio surrounded by the white nationalists that work there, and I will talk about whatever you want to talk about. All right. Anyway.
Play a little bit more.
Oh, there's...
In Paris, the City of Lights, These people do not come here to assimilate in our society. They come here so that our society will bend to them.
I just love that one. Because don't all refugees, don't all asylum seekers, don't they all come saying, hey, let's go to America and make it exactly like where I'm leaving my home. Where I left my home and my beloved family, and I wanted to come here to escape all of this. But yeah, let's make it exactly like where I just came from.
You're speaking logically, Steve. We have to suspend all of that.
Oh, okay. So you got, let's see, the bare assertion, the emotion to appeal in there.
All of the above.
Yeah. It is amazing how many of these are pulled out within any given couple of minutes. This is a 7-minute segment, and I'm only through half of clip 3.
How long is this show? Do you know?
I think an hour and a half. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Though.
Is this like an evening show or like
it's
a drive
usually on
time?
in the afternoons, like 2 to 4.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Drive time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I'm kind of blown away. I've never heard this before. I did not know that white nationalist talking points were so readily spoken on the airwaves. I guess you know what? That's on me for being ignorant to this. And this brings up a larger point that I think a lot of us on any side of any issue struggle with, which is we get lost in echo chambers. And you and I have talked about this before. And this is why I'm so glad that you do this and you listen to this, because honestly, like real talk, you're better than me. I can't listen to this without getting extremely angry because it's straight up racist. But this is important that you listen to this, because it is wild that this is the kind of talk that this guy is just freely saying on the radio.
Absolutely. And more importantly, that people are hearing. I don't mind him saying it. You can say all the garbage you want out there, but the fact that these other people are hearing it and latching onto it, especially those who apparently don't have a whole lot of critical thinking capabilities. I mean, no, I doubt anybody has this laundry list of glossary items for propaganda and logical fallacies,
English
things like that.
And philosophy majors, maybe, but nobody else is going to run that down.
It was extremely uncommon, but people really need to sharpen their critical thinking skills and listen to what's being said, especially now that you've got AI out there creating all sorts of information that may or may not be spoken by the face that's sitting there talking. You've got critical skills that need to be sharpened and awakened to be able to discern what's really being said and who's saying it and is it legitimate. So, yeah, I do this to make sure I understand where those goalposts are, and this is the
they're constantly
far
moving.
Right goalpost. And it does make your blood boil, but I figured we got to understand the people who are out there and what's reaching them. Is there a way that we as Democrats can reach some of these people? And do we need to lie in the same manner as these guys, or do we have to BS? How can we get the messages across? What's tugging at their heartstrings? How do we reach them? That's a lot of what I'm looking for.
Here's the last thing I'll say about Charlie Chames here. I appreciate that you do this. I think this is super important. This is kind of a maddening segment, but it's an important one. I hope people listen to this. I hope they pay attention to your breakdown of this from a critical perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Because you are so right. We just... And I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but just as a nation, our critical thinking skills have been so eroded since the Reagan administration that we have a real problem with reading comprehension, media literacy, and people just straight up being able to think for themselves. Everybody wants to be told what to think, what to do, and that's why so many people just willingly fall in line for some abhorrent things.
Mm-hmm. We've been complacent. We've been fortunate.
We have
many of us have been fortunate.
Here's how I think people need to combat this. And for some reason in this country, we have gotten complacent. But I think we've been so conditioned not to question authority or not to use language that's too sharp and critical because we might offend somebody. When you hear things like this, Just call it for what it is. Yeah. Do not beat around the bush. If you hear a coworker or a friend or especially a family member speaking like this and multiculturalism doesn't work, you need to look them in their face and say, that's racist and I don't want to hear that. Call this out. Stop allowing this kind of just disgusting rhetoric to so freely be spoken without consequences. And I know that Donald Trump has made it popular and okay to be racist again, but that doesn't mean that you can't call it out. You need to call out this kind of BS, or else what are we doing? What are we doing? If you hear somebody talking like this and you just kind of go, oh, I don't really agree with that, or I don't really see it that way, I'm sorry. That's rolling over.
Yeah, and making you complicit.
That is
have all the rationalizations that you want, but basically complicity is just a conglomeration of all of those rationalizations. Well, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to anger people. I don't want to do this. No,
we have to stop.
We have to stop this.
That's wild.
I'm going to wrap it up there, but we've got a guest coming up.
I'm going to go get some water.
Mr. Kyle Freeman, who is running to replace Lindsey Graham.
Yes, he is.
So Charles will be interviewing him, and enjoy that. We should talk to him shortly.
Please stick around. Hopefully we don't make you too mad.
Talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to another episode of the Whole Truth Podcast. I am your host, Charles Morris, third vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party, here with a very special guest today, running for U.S. Senate, Mr. Kyle Freeman. Thank you for joining us, Kyle.
Thank you for having me.
So, why are you running for Senate?
So, I'm running for Senate.
U.S. Senate against Lindsey Graham, by the way.
Yes, U.S. Senate against Lindsey Graham. I'm running because it was a few years back. I was looking at the state of the country, and I was very frustrated with our politics, as probably everybody is. And
everybody that listens to this.
I realized that the country needs like a new direction, and we need younger people to be involved. We need people that understand and are infatuated with science that can, like, I mean, an example is one of the things that frustrated me was watching Congress interview the heads of social media, like Mark Zuckerberg, and just be completely clueless at how their business model works. It was embarrassing. Yeah. And it's like, okay, we need to get these old guys out of here. Like Chuck Grassley's running for re-election. He's 92. And I checked his birthday. That means he's going to be 93 at the time of the election, which means he will be 99 at the end of his term.
That man will be almost triple digits if he ran and completed another term,
So, yeah, which is a very realistic if. And I said, well, we need people that are focused on the working class, somebody with working class experience. And we need somebody that's more progressive, that isn't trying to sit on the fence and doesn't care about like their own personal political career, but wants to serve people and wants to improve lives and like really can change the public's relationship with their representatives. And the more that I thought about this and the more that I ranted about this to other people, the more I realized I was just describing myself.
Right.
And I realized it's like my duty to be the guy that steps up and does that, because you can't just wait for the perfect person to come around, especially if you are that puzzle piece. And I don't take any ego in that. I don't think I'm special. It's the world is shaped in such a way that I fit that hole. I remember when Lee Johnson was running, he dropped out not too long ago, but when he was running, I was saying, I don't think he's the right man for this moment in history. But if things had played out differently, like if Trump had not been elected and the country were in a different spot, he might be the perfect fit for us.
Well, hold on, expound on that.
Okay.
Why did you think he wasn't the right man? And I know you kind of just explained what you think the right person looks like, right? But why was Lee or any other person that might still be running not the person for the moment versus you?
That's a great question. So in Lee in particular, he said he wanted to run his campaign like he runs one of his businesses, and he was self-financing his stuff.
Right.
And he wanted to come in with a business-oriented mindset. But in this late-stage capitalism that we're all experiencing, where billionaires are hoarding more and more of the wealth and there's less and less for everybody else, being focused on helping business isn't the direction that we need to go. But I can very easily envision a version of America in which having a business-oriented mindset and being self-financed and staying outside of the donor system of politics would all be benefits. It's just right now when we've been infiltrated by Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and all that.
Right.
That's not what we need. That's not what's desirable right now. And so it's not like he's a bad person or he would be bad at the job. It's that he's not what is needed now.
Right.
And I feel that I fit that puzzle piece more than any of my opponents. And there's different reasons for different people, and I haven't quite figured out a way to word it without sounding like I'm trash talking them, but I have absolute utmost respect for everybody that's in this primary. They're all awesome. Catherine Fleming Bruce has been a activist her entire life, for longer than I've been alive. She's wonderful, and she's incredibly
historical
smart.
preservation. Oh yeah.
She's a incredibly kind person. I've met her. We campaign together all the time.
Dr. Andrews is a pediatrician. Who's worked to save lives. So yeah, I mean, you're right.
Yeah, everybody on the ballot, and I've said this many times before, but we're so used to our politics being choosing the lesser of two evils, and it's so refreshing to be in this primary, and it feels more like an abundance and an embarrassment of riches. And I think that's really healthy for South Carolina to finally have choice,
right? Because
we've and I'm straying from the topic of your question.
No,
but
this is a conversation. This is great.
I remember when Obama got elected, and I said, even though I had voted for him, I said nobody in South Carolina, their vote mattered when it came to the presidential candidacy, because if you voted for Obama, then the state went red, and your vote didn't count. And if you voted against Obama, then he would won with such an overwhelming amount that whether South Carolina had been red or blue didn't matter.
Right.
And so your vote didn't matter. It didn't matter who you voted for in South Carolina. Your vote didn't matter. So the state has been starved for choice for so long that it's really important that we have a stacked ballot, that we have people like Jermaine Johnson and Sylvia Wright on the ballot that'll get people excited and be like, look, getting involved in politics matters. Your vote matters this time.
Well, let me continue down this track, because you mentioned President Obama. His core message was, of course, hope and change, right? In 08, and in 12, it was kind of more the same. Let's continue building. You're running against Lindsey Graham. We're talking about the establishment, right? One of the most established politicians, let alone GOP politicians, that there is in Washington. How do you plan to take on such an established incumbent, and what is the core message that you think will resonate with South Carolinians?
Well, I think for the first time in maybe even the nation's history, I'm not too storied on the details, but I think being a member of the establishment is hurting you more than it's helping, finally. And I think Lindsey Graham's weaker than he's ever been. But the main way to get through it is we've spent so much time looking at our politicians and our representatives as these elites, as this upper class that looks down on everyone else. But by going to these people, by talking to people one-on-one and spending time with them, whether they're conservative or Democrat or whatever, and actually listening to them, actually responding. I get emails all the time from people that are just asking me questions or what my stance on a certain political topic is. And I always respond with a well thought out, none of it's copy and paste. It's all written on its own. I take the time to answer their question in the spirit that it was asked. And I sign those emails and I send them out to people, and the number of replies that I get of people being like, wow, I can't believe you responded, is unacceptable. That is, in my mind, bare minimum from our representatives is to actually talk to their constituents. Yes. And
what a concept.
Exactly. And I think that by being honest about that, and by being honest in your messaging, emotionally honest, not just intellectually honest, you can have a big impact on voters regardless of their party. And I think that's the reason that Donald Trump is so successful, because we have all of this political messaging that we're all conditioned to hear. Everybody can make a, onion-esque particle or a parody of it where the cadence and the scrubbed down language, and it's completely sanitized to try to appeal to the maximum number of people, and everybody's frustrated with that. And then Donald Trump comes out and he's vulgar and he says whatever he thinks, and he has blatant lies, just bold claims, whether or not they're true.
But he's speaking for the people, right?
Well,
he's speaking for the working class.
He's not.
But isn't that...
That's what it feels like.
What the appeal is supposed to be?
That's what it feels like. Right. And that's the justification for it. But in actuality, the part that's appealing to it is the fact that it's not run through some subcommittee where it's been sanitized and analyzed to maximize its effectiveness. It's just off the cuff. Now, imagine if we could do that for progressive causes, for change, for helping the working class, for getting healthcare costs lowered, or Medicare for all. Like, you can use that same thing for good. The idea is people are so frustrated with being lied to by their representatives that when Donald Trump comes out, even though the stuff he says is abhorrent, it's so refreshing. It's so different from being lied to, and you know you're being lied to. You know that these people aren't being intellectually honest, that it doesn't matter what he's saying. And that's how he managed to trick so many people. That's where this cult came from. And I think people are still starved for that, because regardless of whether or not it feels refreshing, it's still not truth. And focusing on truth has a pretty significant impact on how people will not only relate to the candidate that's being honest, but how they'll relate to the rest of the government and their relationship with their representatives in general.
So, I mean, you're speaking the language of left-wing populism, okay, which is the language of Bernie Sanders, the language of AOC, right? But let me dive further into a specific issue that you kind of just threw out, which is single-payer healthcare. You've spoken about supporting a single-payer system like Medicare for all, lowering cost for all Americans. This is obviously a polarizing issue, at least in the Senate. In Washington, it's a polarizing issue. How do you plan to go about navigating the U.S. Senate to try to push for such a bold piece of legislation in a place that really maybe both sides of the aisle, you're not going to get a lot of traction?
That's a great question, and I don't have a specific answer for it. I have to be more generalized. And the reason for that is when it comes to something like healthcare, it's too important to be stubborn or be it's too important to just let it die for whatever reason. So while I would push for single payer because I do think that that's the best model, I'm willing to compromise when it comes to that, because our healthcare system is so broken that anything moving the ball in that direction is going to be helpful. I know, not have met or know of, I know people in my life, people that I'm very close with, that have chosen not to get medical care and are no longer with us because of money. And while magical Christmas land of a single-payer healthcare is great, if we can get 50% of that, I'm there. And once we get that 50%, we can work on the next 50 after that. So I'm fine with incremental changes when it comes to that. Now, there's certain things that's not an option for. When it comes to stopping the genocide in Gaza, right? That's not they can kill half the people there.
Exactly. There's certain things you can't compromise on.
Correct.
Right? Which is murdering human beings.
And yes. And stopping ICE and all, and fixing the constitutions. Yes.
Those are one and the same.
That is true. That is true.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off there.
No, you're fine. The thing is, I'm fine with incremental progress when it comes to that, because it is such a big process. If we were to just institute single-payer healthcare all at once, there'd be a bunch of insurance companies and all of that stuff that would collapse, and people, there would be a lot of fallout for it, and it would be a pretty big shock to the system. And all of the potential fallout from that is really difficult to predict accurately.
Right.
So there's going to be unforeseen consequences. So it might, in general, be smarter, more intelligent, more effective to do it incrementally. But as big of a priority as it is, I'm fine with going straight to single health payer if we can get it. If we have a supermajority in the Senate and everybody's on board and we can just do it, that'd be great. But in lieu of that, I'm fine with incremental progress.
So I just want to point out to everybody that we have a U.S. Senate candidate who says he's okay with legislating and negotiating and compromising. It's almost like that's what Congress members should be doing every day as part of their jobs.
Shockingly, I agree with you.
No, I appreciate you saying that. as far as your platform, this kind of ties into economic inequality when we talk about Medicare for all, right? Because healthcare costs are such a huge part of why, we have a ballooning economic inequality problem. And corporate power, because you talk about, insurance companies, which are a very powerful lobby. What other legislation would you support to address economic inequality and the role that corporate America plays in our American governmental system?
Oh, boy, I have a lot of answers for that. Real quick, I would like to clarify on something I said earlier. When I say that I'm worried about the insurance companies like collapsing all at once, I'm worried about the individuals that have jobs in those companies.
Who would be affected? Oh, no.
I don't care at all about the company.
I'm with you. You're worried about the everyday American who works at the health,
Correct.
At the health insurance company.
It's a tiny tweak, but it is a big difference. But first of all, we need to get rid of Citizens United. That's key.
Can you give a blurb on that for people who may not be familiar?
If you're unfamiliar with Citizens United was a Supreme Court case that decided that corporations have the same rights as people, and that spending money in political elections is a form of speech. And so that's covered by the First Amendment, which means, and here's the biggest leap of logic of all of this, that corporations are allowed to spend an unlimited amount of money to influence political campaigns.
So corporations are people, their money is the same as speech, therefore it's protected by the First Amendment, and that's why they can spend unlimited amounts.
Right. So there's three increasingly large leaps of logic in that. And it's been disastrous. That's the primary reason that these corporations and these lobbying groups have so much power over our legislators isn't because those legislators are getting paychecks from them. It's actually the opposite. And it works out in so much better for the corporations because they don't give the money directly to a politician in order to influence their vote. They threaten to give it to their primary opponent. So they don't even have to worry about a party change. And it's a way of holding politicians hostage.
Right.
That's got to go. Because the reason that we see so many hypocritical politicians, we see so many people backing down from righteous causes is because of this money influence and this threat. And the way that these politicians have justified to themselves why this is okay is they say, well, I have to compromise on this because if they replace me, they're going to replace me with somebody that's way more extreme and doesn't have my moral compass.
Which we see on the right a lot, right?
Oh, yeah. We see it on the right. It's also on the left. It's not. This is a bipartisan issue. People do it all the time. And while they are correct that most of the time that they'd be replaced, they would be replaced by somebody that's more extreme and probably worse for America. But in my opinion, that's no excuse to not have a spine. So that's how I feel about it. These people need to be stood up to, and we need to get rid of Citizens United. That's one. But increasing the taxes on corporations and on billionaires. You'll see, billionaires don't pay any income tax. Well, they don't have any income.
Right.
That's the reason. And
it's all loans against, perceived value of their assets, right?
Correct.
Which most people probably don't understand. I don't know if you wanted to explain that.
I can go through it really quickly. And I'll use it. There's a conservative argument that says that billionaires support the economy because whenever they go and they buy a $650 million yacht, that's $650 million that are added to the economy. And this is a positive. That's not the case because they don't spend $650 million. What they do is they have all of their assets that are worth $100 billion, right? And they borrow against those assets for $650 million. So they get a $650 million loan for an interest rate of like 0.5% or a 1% interest rate. And meanwhile, their assets are gaining 10, 15, 20%. So they'd be losing money if they were to sell it. So they just borrow against it, and then they spend that money. Well, that money is taken from the banks. That's the pool that everyday Americans get to use. So when that $650 million yacht is bought, that money is taken from the pool that could have gone to lowering your mortgage payment or your small business loan. That's money for, financing your new car or a student loan. That's the money that the bank could be using to help everyday Americans improve their lives or start new businesses. So at best, when a billionaire spends $650 million, it's a net zero.
So how do you address that?
I would say we should be able to tax assets that are kept in holdings for too long if they're above a certain value.
Okay.
Obviously, somebody that has their nest egg that they're putting away for retirement, that doesn't need to be taxed. but somebody who's hoarding wealth just so that they can borrow against it and exploit the system. If you have over $1 billion of value in that should be taxable, because otherwise then there's the death getting the. Are you familiar with buy, borrow, die?
No, explain that.
So buy, borrow, die.
Pretend like I'm not.
Okay. Buy, borrow, die is the idea that they buy all of these assets, they borrow against it, and then they die and pass that on. Because if you were to sell the asset, you have to pay capital gains tax. If you bought it at $1 and it's now worth $100, you have to pay taxes on the $99. When you die and somebody else inherits it, it resets that buy value to its current value, which means you can sell it and pay no taxes.
Right.
And that's a great way to get rid of all of the debt and reset the entire system. So buy, borrow, die is the general strategy, which that's the strategy that we have to combat, because that's where all of the wealth is being hoarded. And
so let's clarify something.
Yes.
Are you saying you want to force taxation, almost like a forced capital gains tax, on the initial purchase price of whatever the asset is? I don't want to get too in the weeds, but is that kind of what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, like, let's say they own the assets for 5 years, and they've just been sitting there. They're not being sold. They're not being traded. They're just sitting there hoarding the wealth. If it's not being used within the economy in any way other than borrowing money against it, that should be taxed, because you're preventing yourself from being able to pay taxes by hiding it in these assets. If they want to sell these assets and pay capital gains tax on that and then use the actual money that they got to buy stuff, then they're helping the economy. There's no need to give them additional taxes on that. But when it comes to the hoarding of wealth, because you think Elon Musk has touched his Tesla stocks? Like, he's not selling a share of Tesla so that he can go get something out of a vending machine. Like, that's not how it works.
Refill the checking account.
Exactly. He's just hoarding it and borrowing against it, and that should be taxed, because the only reason that works is because it's sheltered from taxes. And so I would be legislation that goes after that, legislation that caps corporate profits in a reasonable way. I can't get too in the weeds on that, because you have to sit down with economists and do tons and tons of math in order to figure out what's actually fair, because it needs to be something that's fair to the corporations as well.
But it's a conversation that needs to be had, is what you're saying.
Correct. Instead of this blind sort of, well, we can't touch anything that corporations do because they're important. It's like, well, they're screwing America, so it needs to be addressed.
So when people say they need to pay their fair share, you just went into a little bit further of how they will pay their fair share. That's how I think we can pay our fair share. And also going after these tax havens in other countries is something else that we can do, like penalizing people that can do it. To get into the jurisdictional issues there, but there's Panama Papers. Anyway.
Correct. Yes. But yes, there's ways to attack all of these issues and these strategies, but you can't just put the blinders on and say, well, what are we going to do? We can't, like, you can have something that targets the billionaire class and doesn't target the average everyday Americans. And one thing that I want to clarify on that, I do mean billionaire and not millionaire. Mm-hmm. And because do you know how long 1,000,000 seconds is?
11 days.
It is 11 days. Do you know how long 1 billion seconds is?
33 years.
31 and a half.
31 and a half years. Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah. So the difference between $1 billion and $1 million is approximately $1 billion.
It takes 1,000 millionaires to get 1 billionaire.
Correct. Yeah. And so we're talking about people that have hundreds of billions of dollars. That's where the problem lies. The guy that has 250 million, 600 million, 900 million, that person's not a problem. That person is, a successful businessman, whatever. But
Elon Musk, who's like, 1,500 of that guy.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's sitting at nearly $800 billion. Right. I mean, how many is that in seconds? How many thousands of years is that in seconds? So that's the problem that we need to address. And I think that when people are giving speeches, when politicians are giving speeches and they say the millionaires and the billionaires, I think they're making a mistake, because millionaires are not a problem. And being a millionaire is a reward for making good life decisions and being successful. A billionaire is a computer glitch in capitalism.
No, I gotcha. Let's shift gears for a second. You talked about supporting congressional term limits. Mm-hmm. Why is that important to you? Why do you think that's important for the everyday South Carolinian? Why should that matter?
So that question is a hydra, because there's many reasons. One, Chuck Grassley. who we brought up earlier, 93 years old when he runs for election, which is absurd. We've already seen the sort of geriatric issues with our politicians where we were watching their minds and their bodies fall apart as they're standing in the congressional chambers. Mitch McConnell.
And this happens on both sides. Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, right?
Yes. Susan Collins is definitely getting there as well. And everything that happened with Joe Biden. So there's age concerns. There's aging concerns. There's also the longer that somebody is entrenched in politics, the more that they will cut corners and the more that they will learn how to game the system. And this is just a natural thing. Anybody that's worked a job for long enough will know, with experience, you know all the things that you can get away with, all the corners that you can cut, and those kinds of things. Now, when that happens in politics, you're talking about the quality of people's lives and whether or not people are going to have food on the table.
Right.
And that's not the kind of thing that you want. You want fresh ideas coming in there. You want new ambition. You don't want people that are getting complacent. That's one aspect. So those are two heads of the Hydra. And another one is we have to not only address term limits, because typically the idea is 3 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate. Well, that's 6 years and 12 years. You're still talking about nearly 2 decades of service, which is great. If somebody wants to give 2 decades of their life to serving the country, I think that's very admirable. But that still doesn't fix the problem of a professional politician, of a career politician. What you really need to do is you need to make Congress less lucrative. That means get rid of insider trading. And the idea that insider trading should be fine for these people, the argument that Nancy Pelosi always gives that I find disgusting is it's a free market, and just because you're serving, you shouldn't be denied access to that free market. It's like, but you have information that the rest of the country doesn't. And if you make trades based on that information, that is theft. It is. If I sell you a car with no engine and you believe it has an engine in it and you buy it from me at full price, I have committed a crime.
But if I have the House of Representatives pin on my lapel, I can get away with it.
Correct. And that's not okay. And we have to treat insider trading as theft because it is, and we have to stop it. And Nancy Pelosi's pretty heinous when it comes to this. There's an index fund that you can purchase into that just matches any trade that Nancy Pelosi makes.
I've gotten advertisements for this fund.
Yes.
I've seen it.
So this isn't the average senator beats the S&P 500 by 15%. And let's remember the average senator is Tommy Tuberville and Ted Cruz. So it's not like these guys are geniuses. But that has to stop. A lot of the reason that people want to be a career politician isn't because they have a passion to serve and to help their community. It's because they're making far too much money they can't afford to retire.
Well, let me clarify something.
Yeah.
So, do you support a hard cap on the number of terms in each house, or are you saying that banning insider trading is enough that's taking away enough incentive to hang around forever?
I would say banning insider trading will do more than putting a cap on it, but I still support both. Okay. I'm fine with putting term limits on it.
Do you know what your cap would be, or do you have that fleshed out?
Reasonable minds will differ. It could be, I think 2 terms in the Senate is kind of short. 3 terms in the House is also somewhat short, but 20 years of service, if you're going to do both, I think that's perfectly fine. You can also arrange it that one of the ideas that I had was you can serve 3 terms in the House, and if you never serve in the Senate, you can serve an additional 3 terms. So like you can just be a House of Representatives. You get somebody like Jim Clyburn, who's been in the House for quite a while. Because the only part...
So 12 years for both then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
The only thing that bothers me about the idea of a hard cap is that people like Bernie Sanders that are beloved by his state and the people that really like their representative is, oh, sorry, time's up. You gotta go with somebody that's probably not going to be as good and you're probably not going to like as much. And if there's a way to mitigate that, fine. But at the moment, I'm only worried about an overcorrection.
So I do want to be fair to that, though.
Yeah.
Just let me piggyback off of that, because you mentioned Bernie Sanders. The natural reaction is going to be, well, you're just saying that because Bernie Sanders is a progressive icon and you're a progressive.
No, not necessarily. I'm saying that because he's been in the Senate since, I believe, the 70s. And he's beloved by his state. like, I agree with a lot of the things that he says, and I think that having more progressives like Bernie would be really healthy for the country. But I can't offhand think of a conservative analog to that. Like, you've got Mitch McConnell, who's been reelected that many times, but he's not beloved like Bernie Sanders is.
You could say that the person who serves with Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, Rand Paul, is.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
I
just want to be fair to the issue.
I think that if the people of Kentucky like Rand Paul and they want to keep him around, that should at least be an option on the table. And I'm only worried about denying them that. At this point, though, the overcorrection of putting the hard term limits on there, once we can let that run its course and sort of get a more healthy state on Capitol Hill and then readdress it. So I'm perfectly fine with let's put a hard cap on there. But I do think that there is a reasonable discussion to have about those term limits, which we at the moment, we definitely need term limits. Right. But 20 years from now, hopefully it will be in a much more healthy position. We can readdress this.
So what I'm hearing is, like you said earlier, the term limits, that's one thing where, okay, there's compromise available there. Right. The insider trading, there is no compromise.
Absolutely not, because it's just theft.
Okay.
And the insider trading is, you're just stealing money and enriching yourself.
So you mentioned the other candidates who are running. Dr. Annie Andrews, who we've interviewed, Brenda Brown, who we've interviewed, Catherine Fleming Bruce, who we'll be interviewing sometime coming up, and yourself. You're all in the race. Mm-hmm. What differentiates you from them? I
think the primary thing is that conservatives tend to like me. And
really?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that?
So Robert Reich talks about this. He says in 2016, he would talk to a lot of undecided voters and a lot of conservative voters, and he would ask them who they wanted to vote for. And they said, well, it's really a toss-up between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. And if you can't think of two more polar opposites than that.
But you know what they both are?
They both are people that are honest, and they're not scripted.
They're populists.
And they're populists. And by coming forward with actual plans and solutions and not wishy-washy statements and being generalized, by being specific about the things that I want to fix and how I want to fix them, and being open to compromise and actually listening to people, that has a really big effect on conservatives, because conservatives are less interested in policy and are more interested in like who you are and whether or not you're going to solve problems. And the details of how those problems are solved, like, they don't really care about the pipe work that leads to their lower grocery prices. They just want to pay lower grocery prices. And that's a perfectly reasonable position, a political stance to have. So that's why moderates are almost never popular. That's why moderates can't really be win over. I wish the Democratic Party would learn this lesson. But
we could trail off on that for about another hour.
Oh yeah,
Steve over there might interject. He might cut me off.
It's something that a lot of people are really passionate about, but for good reason. I've said many times, the Democratic Party loves to step on rakes. They love it. They love it more than anything else in the world. It's so frustrating to be a Democrat. Yeah.
Issue.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, and to trail off on that, Chuck Schumer is so woefully inequipped to deal with the Trump administration that it's making me pull my hair out.
Well, real quick, I was going to wrap it up, but since you brought that up, just give me a little bit more, because I asked Brenda Brown this last week, so I'm going to be fair. What are your feelings about current Democratic leadership, specifically in the Senate with Chuck Schumer? And if you were to be elected, what would you be calling for in terms of Democratic Senate leadership?
So I think, if I'm being 100% honest, I think that AOC should primary Chuck Schumer, but that's obviously her decision and my, magical Christmas land. But
let's keep it to just who's there. Mm-hmm. And what would kind of your general stance be for what you'd be looking for? You're going to join the Democratic caucus in the Senate, obviously. What would you be looking for, and who would you support as far as Democratic Senate leadership?
I think somebody that's more along the lines of a Cory Booker, somebody that's willing to take action and because we need not just Democrats that have teeth. We need Democrats with fangs right now. We need people that are willing to get dirty and to really push this stuff and to upset a few people if they have to. And Chuck Schumer, I think, I don't think he's a bad senator. I don't think he's a bad representative. I don't think he's even a bad Democratic leader, but he's not a wartime senator. If you've ever seen the movie Godfather, when he's talking to the lawyer, he says, "You're not a wartime counsel, and I can't take your advice right now." That's Chuck Schumer.
So you want to go to the mattresses and fight, that's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, we have to. I mean, democracy's at stake. If we're being completely honest, I remember last year at the Democratic National Convention, or Democratic State Convention that we have in South Carolina, there was a reporter from D.C. that was interviewing me, and he asked, why am I going into the Senate instead of going into the House first or going for a state position first? And I said, well, we're out of time. I mean, we don't have time with the assault that Trump has on our democracy. And I said, there's even a chance that we won't even have a midterm election. And he went, you really believe that? And I said, it's definitely possible. And I said, anybody that doesn't think it's possible isn't paying attention. And here we are, knowing we're looking down the barrel of Trump trying to find a way to cancel the midterms. We know he's working on it.
Well, he said out loud, well, we shouldn't even have an election.
Exactly.
And then the White House press secretary said he was joking.
Yeah, which we all know he's not. We all know he's going to try. And the way that we prevent that is by coming out in mass, in force, to protests, writing to your representatives, writing to the governor, writing to these people, because we need the people that run our elections, that physically run the election, to be more scared of us than they are of Trump and his backlash. And if we can do that, we have a midterm election.
Well, my final question for you. You're talking directly to the people. Why should they vote for you, Kyle?
You should vote for me because I genuinely want to serve the people. I genuinely love this country. I love the reason that it was founded, and I love what we stand for. And I'm disappointed in our inability to achieve the American dream. But we have a way to make that dream not only possible, but common. And we owe it not just to ourselves, but we owe it to all of the future Americans that are coming after us in order to build the foundation so that they can have meaningful and impactful lives. And being focused on the now and personal gain and your personal political career and the political theater that has dominated the narrative for so long isn't a way to improve the quality of the world that we live in. It just takes hard work. Jon Stewart once said, the job of making this world resemble one in which we want to live is a lunch pail job, where day in and day out, hardworking, dedicated people pound on closed doors and grind away until they get a result. And I know that grind. And I just want to help people and make the world a better place, which is why I'm here in the first place.
Kyle, thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You.
Y'all stay safe out there.
That's been the whole truth.
The Greenville County Democratic Party appreciates your time listening and watching the Whole Truth podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, please follow us, like or subscribe to this channel to help us spread the word. The GCDP wants to thank Michael Fishman from Day Moon Productions for furnishing the recording studio as well as providing his time recording and editing. The Democratic Party needs you to get actively involved and join us at future events. You can find out about them at multiple locations like the GCDP website, greenvilledemocrats.com, and browse the events calendar. You can also keep up with us through our social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Threads. Look for @GVLDem. Thanks again for listening. Let's get out there and do what we can to rebuild our government into one that serves us all. Thanks.